Today's episode is brought to you by Hidden House Coffee. Go check out their locations here in Orange County, California, or get some coffee delivered to your house at hiddenhousecoffee.com.
Welcome back to another episode of Good Dude, Good Dad.
We are brought to you by Hidden House Coffee. You probably heard the sponsorship thing in the beginning.
It's actually official.
It is.
It was unofficial.
Now it's officially official.
That means I got to put up money, you know? That's what the sponsorships mean. We like, it's funny because we didn't want to do, it's not that we didn't want to do, but like getting sponsors and asking for sponsorships when you're starting something out like this it's kind of weird, right? Because we're both business dudes and we both don't like asking people for stuff. But, you know, it's something that too, I think, outside of the financial component of a sponsorship, what's really cool about it is it gives buy-in to those people, right? Like they're supporting you in a different way. Obviously, the sponsorships that we want to be able to like go after are more friend connection based right now. Mm-hmm. But you know, I was just telling Alberto in our group chat right now how cool it is that for such a, you know, small podcast that we have, like the amount of cool things that have already happened.
Yeah.
And that's without us really like getting out there and pushing it. It's just, you know, a passion project that's turning slowly into something more. But if you're interested in sponsoring, I know it sounds silly and I don't want to sell, but it doesn't just help us pay for cool merch or the stuff in here. What it could eventually help us do, and the stuff Jordan and I want to do, is hosting local events, you know, whether it's, you know, quote unquote self-development, or we bring in like a marriage counselor, or we bring in, you know, someone that's kind of premier in the area of fatherhood or parenting. Like we want to be able to do these things that add value, especially if you're local. Obviously, for some of these things, we'll be able to probably live podcast them or live stream them. But it's
but speaking of that too, we're already doing on. Well, I hope it's official. Otherwise, I'm just going to drop something for nothing.
I'm pretty sure it is. But I mean, it's an
I'm
idea.
going to keep it quiet then for a little bit. We're more than likely going to be doing a live podcast on or near Father's Day, which would be super cool. But yeah, it'll help us. It'll help host more events like that. You know, it's more of an investment in fatherhood is really what it is.
And that's what makes it different, right? It's not just, hey, give us your money. That's not what it's about. It's we want to be able to grow this, scale this, but again, more importantly than the financial component, people that are wanting to sponsor and willing to sponsor, they have buy-in and they believe it.
Yeah.
And so for us, that's even more important. But today's episode, we wanted to basically kind of just recap some of the last several guests that we've had. We've had a really cool guest list more recently. I mean, every guest we've had is rad, but what separates these specific guests outside of other ones, and I'm going to just kind of say them real quick. And if I'm not pointing you out in this one, it's not in any weird way or that we didn't enjoy your episode. It's just, this is specific and a reason. So we had Alex DeHue, Guillermo Gonzalez, Avi Rubin, and Alberto Benuelos. Dude, I'm freaking getting
Bro, you're
good
getting
at
it.
that.
You're getting real good.
I mean, we obviously have had guests in between those episodes, but one of the things we wanted to kind of talk about is, again, Jordan and I, if you've listened to any of our episodes, you've probably heard us say like what we grew up in and what we grew up thinking is normal is obviously not normal. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm learning, even though I'm 37 years old, I'm learning that my upbringing, I know it sounds silly to say out loud, but I'm genuinely like grasping it more and more. Like my upbringing wasn't normal in the sense of like two fantastic parents, a fantastic family, friends, support group. Like I had an amazing childhood and I'm thankful for that. And it's made me who I am. You know, I didn't go into my struggles and all those crazy things until I was an adult, which is ironic, you know. But what's unique about those guests that I just named is every one of them at some point did not live in the United States. They weren't, you know, they didn't grow up as your traditional quote unquote, like born and raised here in the United States, your family's from here, this is all you know, right? Like they, at one point, whether they were born or grew up here or grew up somewhere else, came back and all that stuff. Like, it's a really cool perspective because each one of them are very successful in what they do. There's all of them are business owners. One's a pastor on top of, having some stuff that he does as well. But I think that's what's such a cool component is you always hear about like the American dream, or you hear about, land of the free and all that fun stuff, land of opportunity. And each one of them has had that. And I think that's what makes their episodes so unique and so powerful to me. And this wasn't fully planned of an episode, but I thought it'd be really cool to kind of highlight some of those. And so,
Yeah, I mean, what, Alex grew up in Holland?
no, it was Switzerland. No,
Sweden? Switzerland? I thought it was Holland.
no, definitely not Holland.
Okay.
Why
Well,
don't I know
I've
that,
already butchered
Alex?
that right off the bat. And then we had Avi, or Ari, if you're me. He spent most of his life in Israel. And then we had Guillermo, who at
Alex was Belgium.
Belgium. That's right. I'm so sorry, Alex. You can choke me out later. We had Guillermo, who grew up in Mexico and at 14 came over to the United States. And then we had Alberto, which was almost the exact opposite. At was it 14 years old? Or
Something like that.
7, he moved back to Mexico, being born in the United States. It's been cool to get their different perspectives and how fatherhood changed each one of them. Because each one of them had...
Not just fatherhood, but
Yeah,
just being here as
being
as a
here,
man.
growing up in the United States. We've gotten to talk about how awesome America is, which has been a lot of fun, and just their different perspective on culture, their different perspective on life, their different perspective on being business owners,
Religion.
religion. Yeah, they brought so much value each and every time, which has been pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, like, let's, to recap Alex's, if you didn't get to listen to it, you should definitely go listen to it. Alex was born here and then moved to Belgium with his grandmother, I believe. That's where his family was. And he grew up there. And, you lose a lot of the language and all that, the culture and stuff like that when you're moved as a kid. And then he came back here. So he did, they all did a here, there, here.
Yeah,
And so he came back here, joined the Marine Corps.
right.
Like, fantastic. He didn't even grow up in the United States, but joined the Marine Corps, arguably the world's best fighting force ever.
Hoorah.
And then, he did that and he had to make adjustments and learn things and adapt. And then now he owns a couple businesses and is like doing what he wanted to do. And hearing his perspective on and growing up somewhere, in Europe and then coming back here, I love listening to Alex talk about like what America is and means. And it's not like he came from a third world country. He came from, another fantastic place, but just the opportunity and the fact that, he's in America, like you could hear how much it means to him.
Yeah.
And then
I love that he grew up with stories because I remember his grandfather served and then met his grandmother or visited the town and remembered going, dang, everybody there was so nice. As soon as, as soon as the war's over, I'm coming back and that's where I'm going to live. And growing up on World War II stories from a European side of things and learning the appreciation of the United States from a European perspective of a place that truly, especially during that time when he was growing up, was very still appreciative of everything the United States had ever done. And coming back and getting to fulfill his hero story of being in the Marine Corps. And dude, his stories about his combat experiences were pretty crazy too.
Yeah.
And I love that he just was like constantly, he's like, yeah, dude, I just felt like, he's like, no matter what I did and how far I wanted to step away, God was like always right there knocking on my heart, you know? His story was very impactful.
Yeah, and you see it if you know Alex or if you've had the pleasure of getting to talk to him or been around him. He's just so happy, and you could just really tell he's done something with the opportunities that were, sometimes him forcing, and he's just a fantastic dude. And then you go to Guillermo, growing up in Mexico and then coming here, he didn't speak English, and coming here as a teenager, to Orange County, which it would be difficult already, and not speaking English, and to be able to figure out how to like assimilate like rapidly in a place and an age group in high school when people are already just mean, is another impressive thing. And to hear how his childhood shaped who he is as a man and as a a husband and a father, and now he's a pastor of a church.
That's so awesome.
And I think again it really just showed me, and it sounds cheesy and you guys might get tired of hearing it, but it just, each one of their stories just made me so much more grateful for being raised here and giving, like, having these opportunities of being here in the United States as just a normal. Like all these people that hate us here and all that other stuff is like, you take it for granted. Like you're allowed to have those feelings because of where we live. You travel to some of these other countries in the world that, I have been as an adult or an early adult when you think you're an adult, but you're really not an adult yet. Like it really opens your eyes and perspective on, whoa, dude, I've been so sheltered. The Orange County bubble or the United States bubble is genuinely a thing.
I love too that it's an excuse eliminator, because so much you grew up in the United States, you're so used to this life, you're so used to how we have things, and it's like, oh, I can't start a business because of this, or I can't branch out of my comfort zone because of that. And it's like, dude, you're talking about guys that literally didn't grow up here, didn't speak English, or spoke very little English, or broken English, and they figured it out.
Yeah.
And it's like, most people that are too nervous to take that step, you already have such an advantage over the like Guillermo and all these guys that showed up, didn't speak English or great English. And look what they're doing with a little bit of hard work, a little bit of persistence, a little bit of, it's not a little bit, it's a lot of bit of just figuring stuff out, figuring life out, appreciating what they were given and taking the utmost advantage of it. Now, I'm not saying go out and start a business because that's not for everybody, but
just got coffee in my eye.
Not allowing excuses to dictate your life.
Yeah. Well, and that's a theme we could take for every one of those people, right?
Oh, 100%.
And, they all have done it in their own way and in their own positions and stuff like that. But yeah, dude, they all could have, but I didn't know this, or I didn't come from this, or I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have these role models. I didn't. But all of them took their stories, not their stories. They all took their opportunities in their lives and have truly transformed them into these radical things. And you don't need to do radical things to have a fantastic life. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is not all of us are dealt the same hand. And we live in a time right now where, there's a lot of woe is me, or, and I'm not saying that it's going to happen successfully every time.
Right.
Sometimes I think if you are dealt a crappy hand, sometimes it is hard to get out of that. That's not the topic. That's not what we're saying. Well, the whole point of us wanting to highlight these people are, one, we know them. We have personal connections and relations to them, whether it was just because of the podcast or because of outside of here. But we have seen and heard and got to do life with people that weren't given the same hand that Jordan and I were. And whether it's a good hand or a bad hand, whether Jordan and I had a good hand or a bad hand is a different story.
Yeah.
But the story and the important part is they didn't just stay stuck in it. They adapted, they pivoted, they moved, they came back, they left. They did these things to position themselves as what we currently see. And, like with Avi, growing up in Israel, like the photo that he has of, being basically an infant with his parents not being able to hold them because they were, worried about nuclear, I don't know. Do you say
they were in
nuclear?
They were in the basement and he was in an incubator, and they were wearing the
they're hazmat suited up.
Yeah, hazmat suited up. Yeah. I love this podcast, and this is one thing that, we've always talked about wanting to do, and we're doing it, is that creating a catalog of people's stories, a catalog of people's lives that can resonate with somebody out there.
Yeah.
It's not every podcast is going to hit you. I get that. Not everyone you're going to be like, dude, this is a straight banger. But something from someone's story is gonna get you eventually, because there's so many different walks of life. There's so many different perspectives. There's so many different people. Dad, no dad, abuse, no abuse, sexually assaulted, military, European, Spanish, like it's just all these different backgrounds where it's like you can just take the bits and pieces that apply to you and plug it into your own life, and then you use it to go out and be a better man, be a better dad, be a better human.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, like Jordan said, and that's why we wanted to highlight these particular guests, is because they didn't all have the same, not that all the other guests that we've had what we had, or didn't have what we had, but these ones specific didn't have the traditional, quote unquote, United States upbringing, you know? And I think every other guest that I know of that we've had so far was born and raised here.
I believe so.
And so it's a little different when you're not born and raised here, or you were born here but not raised here, and then you come back here. And it's just so cool. It genuinely is so cool. And, you know, again, some of them are not dads yet. They want to be. They haven't had the opportunity to be. Some don't. Maybe, like, there's going to be guests that don't want to be a dad. They just want to be a good dude. And I think that's important. And another thing that's, like, hit me through these stories, like, you know, someone like an Alberto, and a couple of our other guests, they don't believe what we believe when it comes to, like, our religion and our faith. And that's freaking awesome.
I love it.
It's one of the things Jordan and I first talked about when we were starting this together, is like, hey, we're not like a Christian podcast, right? And we both were like, absolutely not. Like, that's weird. Like, our faith is our faith, and we're more than willing to talk about it. We love to talk about our faith because it's genuinely what has made us who we are as men of God. But that doesn't mean there's no room for outside perspectives or just ways of, like, thinking, you know, like, I don't care if you are a Christian or not. What I care about and what this platform is for is creating, like, very good resources to make better men. And not everyone is going to have faith, and that's totally okay. And we never want to give the appearance or the notion that, like, no, we don't accept that. Like, I freaking love.
I remember, like, when we were talking about that for the first time, it was off air. And you're like, dude, I freaking hope somebody comes in here one time and starts yelling at us, trying to challenge us on our faith. He's like, that'd be awesome, you know? And I'm like, yeah, you know, if you're shy, don't shy away from those conversations. They need to happen.
Yeah. Well, and that's why we live in the United States.
Yeah, I love it.
We can each believe what we want to believe, but in today's climate and culture, we've lost the ability to just have rational conversations like grown adults, and to be able to just, like, listen to each other and be like, oh, yeah, I see some of that, or, you know, oh, I don't see some of that, you know, and that's freaking okay.
And still be friends after.
But again, we're living in this freaking, like, culture where it's like, I don't know what happened. I don't know where we went wrong as a society of just forgetting. I mean, I think the 2020 and 2021 years of, like, isolation of people definitely didn't help that. But another thing we want is, we don't care if you agree with some of the stuff that we believe, as long as your goal is to be a better man and a better human and a better husband and a better father. Like, we want that.
Yeah.
You know, and these stories of these guests prove that. We don't all come from the same backgrounds or the same ways of thinking, or the religion or ethnicities or even language, right? And I think if we had this podcast and this platform and only had these, oh yeah, you look at us, like, talks and conversations, then I think we wouldn't be doing justice, and I don't think we would be of value to people, right? There has to be some tension, and it's happened. Like, Alberto, sorry, bro, but you got emotional on the podcast. He didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah.
George, emotional.
Yeah.
I've freaking gotten emotional. Jordan's gotten emotional. We've had several guests that had no intention of getting to that point of showing that form of emotion.
Yeah.
Not because we're, like, shying away from it.
Yeah.
But there's something about genuine, real conversations, because nothing we talk about is scripted. We send a couple questions for them for food for thought, but everything that happens in here is organic, right? We want an organic conversation. We don't want anything scripted. we want it to be real and raw, because that's where I think change and transformation and growth and encouragement and the opposite, like maybe some sadness, can really like shape and change conversations and take the negative thoughts of like men can't like have real conversations away.
That also, if you're looking for a key on how to build true friendship with people, is having those kind of conversations.
Yeah.
Because those are the kind of conversations that build actual true friendship. If you can handle them correctly and interact and disagree and agree and communicate, and it builds a genuine friendship bond, which is what leads to emotional moments like that, because then you realize that, oh, this person's actually really listening to me and they genuinely care. And then you get to have these super awesome raw moments where you're helping each other, you're partnering together. I mean, that's what being a man is about too. Is it's about partnering with the dude on your right and your left and helping each other grow.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, isolation is the enemy. You know, I think we've done several posts on that. Isolation is the enemy. The biggest mistake that you can make is thinking that you're doing life alone.
Yeah.
And it might look different from, you know, a friend of yours. It might look, you know, different. It might look the same. I don't know. But that's part of building this. I mean, it's part of what building this is.
Yeah.
Is being there.
Guys, please continue to like message us or DM us, whether it's on the Good Dude, Good Dad Instagram or our personals. Like the fact that I got a DM from somebody listening to one of our guests and is reaching out for potential help on something is so freaking huge.
That's rad.
And those little things are big wins, but they're the reasons why we want to keep pursuing and pushing. And they inspire us, dude. Like, you know, like I said, getting that DM and just this person listening to one of our guest stories, like, I was inspired by that. Do you think they would be okay with communicating with me or reaching out to me or meeting with me? Like, that is cool, you
That's
know?
super rad.
Or again, you know, like the different things we're like walking through our daily life and I'm in one of the coffee shops and someone's like, hey, that was a really cool episode. I had no idea about that. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, dude, I had a coworker that I worked with in like 4 jobs ago who I think lives in like Wisconsin. Sorry, I don't remember where you live. His buddy sent him one of our clips from our podcast and said, hey, dude, you need to check these guys out. He's like, dude, that's Jordan. I know Jordan.
Yeah.
And he shot me a message like, bro, this is awesome.
It's seriously, it's cool.
Yeah.
And it's literally why we want to do this. Yeah. You've heard us say it before, but we genuinely think this could be something bigger than just some cool shirts, some cool hats, a podcast. It could genuinely be a life-breathing thing that becomes more of a bigger thing, you know? And almost every guest, I think every guest actually, I'm pretty sure every guest has come on here and believes in the mission and the value of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to do. And this has nothing to do against male or female, but it's specifically designed to males, right? Because we're guys and dads and husbands. Like, we genuinely believe if we can help build a better, bigger, stronger, manly foundation of people, the world would be a better place. And that's something we genuinely believe in. Every guest has shared that with us. Like, hey, this message needs to get out, whether it's to, you know, the dads out there, or to even sons that didn't have a dad, or to men that don't have a desire to be a parent, but they have a desire to be a great husband, a brother, a business owner, a man, right? In their community, in their spheres of influence. Like, it's something that I think is just so cool. And I like when we do these recap episodes because it makes me really sit here and think of what was said or what had happened or conversations I've had post those episodes of those guests, you know? Like talking to Guillermo about just like what it is and what it means to us, like when we're training jiu-jitsu and trying to not be not use those moments for your own gain, but use those moments as, hey, like, we're real dudes doing real things. Like, we're here, you know, and what's up, you know? And I think it's just such a cool thing. Or, being in a cafe someone talking to you about, like, hey, can you give me some advice on X, Y, and Z? And you're like, wait, why are you asking me for advice? Oh, we heard your episode with Yo and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, wait, that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Anyways, we don't want to take too much more time, but these recap episodes I think are just as valuable for us.
Yeah. Please shoot us a DM if you have anything that you'd like us to cover. I didn't even get to tell you. We did an episode specifically on a DM that we had received. And we did an episode, the two of us. That person reached back out to me. He's like, he didn't even listen to it that week. He listened to it like 4 weeks afterwards. And he was like, dude, that was everything I hoped and more.
That's cool.
Thank you so much. So please, send us a message with things you'd like us to cover. DMs either on Instagram. You can also email us at howdy@gooddudegoodDad.com if you want to do that. I'm going to ask a big favor from you guys. Please send this, not this episode or this episode, any episode that's impacted you, send it to a dude in your life that you think would enjoy it or could use it or just need some encouragement. That would be huge. Please like, share, subscribe, and
if you also want to be a guest, we now know how to do the remote stuff. So if you're not local, let us know.
And if you've reached out to me about being a guest and I haven't gotten back to you, I apologize. We were just figuring it out now, so that was on me. But thank you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, our guests that have been on. And remember, be a good dude, be a good dad.